Time for another Soccer Down Here 1v1, and for this one, we dive into the NPSL and one of the new appointments for one of the 8 new franchises in the league. It's time to catch up with Columbus United's football club's new head coach, Brett Teach. Teach/coach, thanks for hanging out with us for a 1v1.
Well, that's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, so when you and I were talking before we came on here, you mentioned it's a chance to be about 2 hours from home from Atlanta. So what attracted you to the Columbus gig in the first place?
Well, I have a long history with Columbus, and specifically with Michael and JD and that group. And when I say long, I mean really long. I actually recruited both of them back in the early 90s when I was coaching at Oglethorpe University. Michael, unfortunately, chose to go to my now previous employer at Virginia Commonwealth University. And John Dale played for me at Oglethorpe before his shoulder just got so bad he couldn't continue to play anymore. So it all started because I was an Olympic development coach for the state of Georgia. And I had a group of Columbus, Georgia players that made my pool one year. It was really surprising. It started with a guy named David Lorette, another guy named Chris Cairns. I believe Chris is also involved in the ownership group. And so through them, I got to know a little bit more about Columbus soccer. And then gradually, as I began recruiting, I ran into Hitch and I ran into JD and I ran into, again, I tried to get Chris Cairns. He went to, I believe, West Point first and then on to University of South with, I believe, another player, Jeff Hunt. So all these guys are part of this ownership group. In fact, one of the assistant coaches who's going to work with me, Bruce Wade, is another Columbus guy that I've known through soccer for many years in Atlanta. So it was just an opportunity to kind of get back to an area where I kind of grew up. I was also over in Montgomery, Alabama as a coach for many years at Auburn Montgomery and had a great time there. We were very, very good during my period there. And so that was a great experience. And I was actually offered the Columbus State job when it was originally started, and they brought Coach Jay in a little bit later. But so my ties to the community are pretty big, even still to this day, many years later. I've always kept an eye on that area, that community. Some of the local people in the community, Tony Frankovich, et cetera, are people I've known for years and years and years. And I think Tony just retired and leaving the community, go back to Europe, but he was a director of coaching there for many years. So again, that attracted me, number one, Hitch's son played for us at Virginia Commonwealth University. He's still there, actually. And that's how Michael and I got reacquainted, was during the process of recruiting Will, and then through Will's growth as a player. And I got to know Michael's various teams within the league and how successful they've been. So, just the opportunity to be back kind of in an area I consider home and to work with a guy that I trust. And then oddly enough, to work with a guy that I used to coach. It's just a really familiar, comfortable feeling is how I put it.
When you think of the NPSL in general, what do you think about having this as something that folks can do in the spring and summer, and the idea of you being able to coach in the NP? What's been your thoughts about the NPSL as a league?
Well, I've had some opportunities in both the leagues, the NPSL and the USL2, which are the two most common summer leagues for college players. And I never have been able to, I just couldn't work out the timing to make it where I could do it, because generally the USL2 runs a little bit longer. So I like about the NPSL for specifically college players is that it's not restricted age-wise. You can have players from, 18 to 30 if you want them. And so the players get an opportunity to play with different levels of players that are coming back to the game from, maybe they've been pros and they're out for a year and they're trying to figure out, can we get back on the wheel? Or are they younger college players? They use this for an additional platform for professional teams to see and get to know them. And what I've really enjoyed about it is the community-based programs that the NPSL seem to be. And not just through Hitch's group, but all of them. The ones that are successful is not so much because they have great players, because you can build a team. That just takes, knowledge of people and how to connect it. But to be what I would call sustainably excellent, it takes really getting involved in the community, becoming more than just, as I call, 2-month visitors, 3-month visitors, but really being part of the community, getting to know the people that have made soccer successful in that area. And I think that's where Hitch's group has really been outstanding with the clubs that they've worked with. And so that's been my view of the NPSL, are through the 8 or 9 teams that Michael has worked with, and watching them grow, because I've seen Appalachian FC start and then how it went. And I've watched Annapolis, how it started, how it went. I watched Lubbock, how it started, how it went, because that's all been in a time period where Will was either joining us or was with us. And so I got to see it, and I just love the idea of, this becomes that community's team. And it's all about family. It's all about environment. It's all about fun. It's all about, obviously the product on the field is important, but I think the whole experience makes it amazing. And that's what I've seen with the NPSL has been really kind of their, modus operandi, not only, with Hitch's group, but all the teams that I've seen and we've sent players to over the years. And so, I'm excited to be a part of it.
And at the same time, with your time there at Oglethorpe and with your time there at AUM, you've been a part of the Southeastern footprint and the growth of the sport on the collegiate side of things. What's it like now to see where the sport is continuing to grow and evolve in all of these Southeastern markets and the markets south of the Mason-Dixon line, to where you can have a Columbus United? You can have something in Lubbock that's successful. You can have something in Boone that's successful, that takes over for Appalachian State. What's it been like for you to see the sport grow here in the Southeast?
Oh, it's been incredible. I'm really proud to have been a small part of it, where, I've been at the collegiate level, but I've also spent a lot of time at the youth level. I've coached consistently in youth soccer from 1992 on. I think I took 2 years off of that period of time. One is when I moved to VCU to try to get my bearings straight at VCU. And then one was when I was in Tennessee, when I left AUM to go to Tusculum, same kind of thing. I wanted to be able to spend a lot of time with my new program. And I'll probably take this year Mount St. Mary's and not be actively involved with a club, just for the same reason, because I'm taking a new program over, and I really want to make sure I get that, because you only get one chance to start, and you want to make sure you do it right. And so in both of these cases, both with Columbus and with Mount St. Mary's, it's incredibly important that I get started on the right foot. And so when the opportunity to now kind of, re-enter this market, but at a level kind of between youth and pro, rather than at youth or in college, this is another little market area, which I really like. I think it's an opportunity to, honestly, I'm gonna rely on a lot of my friends to help give us players, because I understand kind of from both ends. It's important to be successful, but it's also important to protect the college kids, to make sure that they're not overtrained, overused, and it's also important to give, the guys from Division II, NAI, Division III, another platform to be able to be seen by pro coaches or by scouts or by organizations, so that if their dream and desires are to move into that level, this gives them another set of video, if nothing else, another way to be seen. And so I think really to re-involve myself in that market, but it's also new to me because it's a different market for me, is really exciting, because now, like as a youth coach, okay, I know everything going up to U19 with them. I help them get them to college. I do this, I do that. Well, now where I've always kind of lost my youth players is in that period between college and whatever they do next. And so this is an exciting time to reacquaint myself with some guys that, have gone other places, that can come back, and I can help them take that next step. And also just, help friends of mine that are in the college game that want their players to have a good experience in the summer. And then to help Columbus have a group that's going to be proud to be there and part of the community.
And at the same time, you mentioned all of the growth aspects and bringing in players to help them with their games. When it comes to your particular style, for someone who hasn't seen a Brett Teach team out there on the pitch, how would you describe the kind of coach that you are and the kind of players that you're looking for, so Columbus United can get out of the blocks and hit the NPSL hard?
Well, I always believe that I've really come through this. I've done this for 35, 36 years now. And I really think it's about understanding how to control the game. I truthfully believe there are three ways you can control the game, and each is incrementally harder than the way before. And I think great teams can do it all three ways. And the way I always look to first, I always call it personality. And that's basically believing so much in the group you're with, the players around you, the organization, the game plan, whatever, that you're just simply more committed to what you do than the teams that you're playing are to what they do. And some days that may mean we have the ball a lot. Some days it may be we defend a lot, but we're so committed to each other and to the cause that we're able to be successful. So we don't really have full control of the game, but we control the outcome through our discipline and desire. So that's the easiest way, because that just takes getting a bunch of guys to believe in what you're doing. The second way is through the use of pressure. Where do we apply pressure? How do we apply pressure? Where do we turn them over? And then when we turn them over, what is our plan to get to goal? And this is harder because this now takes not only personality and attitude, it takes this comprehension of what we're doing, why we do it, and then how we get the ball back, and then what we do. And so it's a little bit more difficult. It takes a little longer to perfect because now you're cutting the fields into eights and you're trying to get all your players into 3/8 of the field to win the ball. And then you want to attack the space that you've left open. And so it's a little more dependent on understanding the group, how to play together, how we work together, and really how comfortably are we with space behind, because that really is what dictates how high you press, is how much space you're comfortable defending behind. Because if you're really comfortable, you got guys in the back you feel that between your goalkeeper and your center backs that can handle that space, then you can be really aggressive. If you don't feel like you have that luxury in your team, then now you have to be really purposeful in where you pick them up. So first is personality, second is pressure, but third and toughest but the best way is through the possession. So I always call it the 3 P's of control. But possession is so much more than just passing the ball around. It's moving the ball to move the defense and then create seams and gaps to attack. So the best teams I've had can control games for the most part with our possession, but also with use of our pressure and our belief, our personality. And so the best teams I had at AUM, the best teams I had at Tusculum, the best teams we've had at VCU were all teams that were able in some manner to kind of perfect each of those 3 areas and be able to then implement those. The best teams lived with the ball, and when we lost it, we turned them over very quickly, and it made the game very difficult for the other team. Probably the best run I had at that were 10 years between AUM and Tusculum. I think we won 10 consecutive conference titles. And the 7 years I was at AUM, we never gave a goal in our league for many, many years. And that was because we were very, very committed to what we did. Now, we had better players, so I don't want to pat myself on the back there, but it also helped our players were committed to a style. But then when we got the ball, we were very purposeful with it. We created just this long streams of defending actions for the other team. And then when they get it, right back, we press them, we win it back. And it's just very difficult to deal with. So the best teams that I've coached will exhibit that. Now, the summer's a little different because Columbus, Georgia is not known for being the coolest place in America.
True, yeah.
So you do have to use, the ball then allows you not to have to run everywhere too. So you have to always understand not only the players you have, the field conditions, the weather conditions, you have to understand everything, the players at your disposal, the roster size, all those things. Like in college, obviously, we have the liberty of moving players in and out a lot more frequently than you do at the NPSL level, where, once you're out, you're out. There's all the different substitution rules that we have in each kind of arena that I work in. It seems like every group that I work with, there's a different set of substitution policies, which then also contributes to when and where and how you pressure. Now it becomes more of a tactical challenge. Okay, we press early, drop off, press late, drop off, press after goals, before goal, yada, 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 yada. So the best teams are teams that are able to control the game. The second thing that I would hope that when you watch the best teams, or all the teams I've coached in some respect, is that I always feel like there are 5 phases of the game: with the ball, without the ball, in transition, both to attack and defense, and in set pieces. And my teams are very comfortable in each of those phases, what we do. And so, when we get really good at it, each game kind of looks the same. We'll be on the ball, we'll move it. If we turn it over, we'll be immediately able to press. And so then it just becomes, are we able to solve the problems that we face each game better than our opponents, and can we create goal scoring opportunities repetitively through actions that are deliberate? They're not just chance, they're deliberate through our possession, or if we win it, our transition. If we get set piece opportunities, through our set piece opportunities. So again, longer answer for your question, but those kind of are where I always concentrate almost all of my training. It all starts with the ball. How well can we do with it? Can we really move it effectively? Because so many teams now, you hear this, oh, we're gonna be a possession-based team. That's great, but what does that really mean? What that means is you want to move the other team to create holes, but then exploit those holes. And so many teams you see now, they just kind of pass to pass. And that's the first phase. You have to understand spacing, timing, ball movement, all that. But at some point, you got to go vertically. And so what you want to do is, through your possession ability, learn how to read and react to when you move the defense. It's really a series of asking questions. If I move the ball here, how are you going to react? If I move the ball here, how are you going to react? If I play a change of point of attack, how are you going to react? And then as you get better and better, you understand what that means they have to do. And not only is it read and react, now it's forcing them because you know how they're going to react. So you go from asking questions to forcing them to do things certain ways. And that then creates, again, like I said earlier, repetitive opportunities, which to me, I want the games to be very repetitive looking, because that means we have control of them. And the better you get that way, quite frankly, you're only solving a smaller subset of problems. You're not having to solve a million different problems, because the game can throw a million problems at you. And if you don't have some control of it, you don't know whether it's going to be a team playing directly, indirectly. It really comes down to, we need to have a control of the match, and we need to understand what our job is all the time. And when we do that, good things tend to happen.
Brett Teach, the new head coach at Columbus United, the NPSL, hanging out with us for a Soccer Down Here 1v1. So a lot of folks will sit there and say, okay, well, the 2024 season, yeah, it's over there. It's down the road. It's like May, April, May, June. Yeah, it's over there. But in reality, it's over there. I mean, it is like right there coming up on you. And I know that we all have these to-do lists. And this is a question that I always like to ask coaches that are involved in new franchises. We always have those to-do lists. And it could be on our fridge, or we write a note at 3:00 in the morning, and then we look at it the next day and go, what was I trying to write there? It could be on your phone, on a Word doc. It could be, on a PowerPoint presentation, or it could be on like one of those big 6x8 foot dry erase boards. It's got a lot of names and arrows and squiggly lines and everything. Where is your to-do list? And what do you think, because the season's coming up and player recruitment and all that stuff's coming up, what do you think the next thing that you can cross off that to-do list as you get ready for Columbus United? What do you think that is?
Well, I think my to-do list is I'm really old school, so it's a pad and paper. And it's so funny that you asked that, because just earlier today, I was going through, because again, I'm starting 2 new jobs. I'm starting Mount St. Mary's. I got hired at Mount St. Mary's on December 1st. So I have 2 new jobs. Well, obviously that one started the second I took it. And then I took Columbus right around the same time. So that started that day. It really, number one, is I want to find and lock in an assistant coach to be with me all the time. I've gotten one guy who's going to be with us, but I need to find that guy that's going to be kind of my right-hand guy. And I'm still in the process of speaking to friends and seeing how that goes. Hopefully, I can have some clarity on that this week. A second thing I have to do, as simple as this sounds, is I've got to really get a handle on where we are with just the basic needs of a program, equipment. I know we're good with uniforms, all that kind of stuff, but I need to get my staff gear ordered for everybody. So I've been looking through that this week. I need to understand the practice venues. I need to plan a tryout session, because we would like to have tryouts probably mid to late February. I think Michael, I still got to come to a date on that where I can be available and down, because it's important to me to be there. And do we want to have 1? Do we want to have 2? So those are all things over the next 7 days I'd like to have action on. And it's so funny you asked that because I literally just went through this yesterday. And then the third piece is I would really like to begin building out my roster. I found out last week kind of, where our roster is in terms of, numbers, people, and all that kind of stuff. So now it's a matter of going through positional depth chart and contact. I've already been in contact with, I would say, the main guys I'm going to use to help supply players. And now it's a matter, okay, getting this position from here, this position from here, and really going that way. And so I want to really have a locked in idea of, even if it's not names on a board quite yet, where I'm getting players from. And a couple of teams I want to get players from also have new coaches. Just down the street from you guys, University of Alabama, Birmingham, really good Division I program, hour and a half away. They just hired a new coach. Fortunately, he's a good friend of mine, so we're going to be able to work together. Obviously, VCU, I'm going to bring a few guys down from there. Obviously, I can't bring any from Mount St. Mary's, but I'll bring a few of the VCU guys down. And so Coach Gifford and I have to get together and what makes sense for those guys. I'd love to bring Michael's son down, but I don't think that's going to happen. He'll probably end up back home with one of his ventures, one of Michael's ventures. So just things like that, where it's the nuts and bolts of it. Because I think the roster build out will go for a little while. Because this week's all going to be about getting names, watching video, and evaluating. So for me, staff ordered, any equipment that we need ordered, and quite frankly, can I get finalized the staff that's going to work with me? Because they're going to be every bit as important to our success as I would be or anybody else. Because it is really about, I hate to say this, but it really is about a synergy between ownership and management and technical staff and local staff that makes you successful. And, again, 30 years ago, my ego was much different than it is now. I want to find somebody that complements me, makes us.
We are looking forward to it and seeing how things continue to evolve and grow with you and JD and Hitch down there at Columbus United. Brett Teach, the new head coach for Columbus United down in the NPSL. Thanks for hanging out with us for a 1v1. We'll be keeping an eye on you and seeing how things grow here as you get ready for season number 1.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate your time.